So last month, one of my videos finally gained traction. After 4 years of uploading on YouTube, I was finally getting pretty good subscriber growth, pretty good view growth, at least for my standards. So first up, thank you. But I'm realizing now, as a very small content creator still, growth can be the worst thing if you're trying to stay authentic, if you're trying to stay true to yourself. Here are 4 things that I've learned throughout this period. First up is the dangerous reward loop of being a reviewer type of creator. So most of my successful videos on YouTube have involved me trying out a piece of tech, maybe like this phone right here, or the flip phone I featured before, or even this category of shoes called barefoot shoes that I made a video of. The problem here is that this success sort of sends me down a bit of a dangerous reward loop of needing to always feature a new product to appease the algorithm and ultimately make videos that people want to watch. Because I've sort of niched myself into this like budget tech reviewer, minimal tech reviewer type of profile. And the coolest thing is that eventually companies do reach out to you and ask if you want to try their products in exchange for a review. Initially, obviously, you're like, hell yes I do, because I've never really gotten any sort of compensation for any of my YouTube videos before. So the first company that ever really reached out to me to send me stuff, I immediately said yes. I also had a string of videos where I just reviewed a line or a bunch of barefoot shoes. The downside there is that this is slightly hypocritical if I'm trying to be a minimalist, because I just have so many products that I don't really have day-to-day use for, especially the shoes. Like, I genuinely do like all of the shoes that I said I liked. It's just that I just have too many of them now, and I don't really wear all of them a lot. They're sort of duplicative in that sense in my wardrobe. I mean, I guess the upside is that I never really have to buy shoes again for the next few years, but the downside is just that I just have so much stuff. The real problem here is that to be a credible reviewer that gets taken seriously, you do need to have proven that you've tried all of the alternatives, right? Like, if I'm gonna review a phone, I need to also realistically compare it to its competitors. And that's not really something that, 1, I want to do, and 2, I'm good at, because that takes a lot of research and that involves trying a lot of stuff. And trying a lot of stuff means you also need to just buy a lot of stuff and potentially waste a lot of stuff. So recently what I've done is I've just self-imposed a policy where I won't really accept a free product to review unless I'm actually going to be using it longer term. And I'm just gonna make videos more about my personal experience about this product. Like, for example, I'm trying out this smart ring, but I'm not just reviewing the smart ring. I'm actually trying to see how this ring affects my life in either a positive way or a negative way. That's the type of review I want to do now, rather than just a straight up product review where I just sit in front of a camera and just talk for 5 to 10 minutes. Second realization is the risk of inauthenticity and self-censorship. The internet can be a pretty harsh place, especially if you're starting out. This niche, minimalism, is such a polarizing niche because no one really agrees on what it really means. And basically, whenever you post content on it, there's always going to be that one person who's like, this is not minimal enough. A lot of the minimal traditionalists will say that me having social media is extremely hypocritical, or that my videos on digital minimalism experiments are just a bunch of excuses, or that I just need discipline instead of trying out all of these new gadgets. Now, the risk here is that if you listen too much to what commenters tell you, even though it might not really be aligned to your values or what you're really trying to do, you might force yourself to change in a way that you never really wanted in the first place. And it does make me think, like, why am I letting random strangers on the internet dictate my life choices for me? Another thing about inauthenticity is that it's super easy to just fake stuff for likes and views. I could just make a 10 to 15 minute video where I'm pretending that I switched to a flip phone, and I could just stage everything, and no one would really know the difference. I could have just built this whole online persona where I could just pretend to be like this super offline guy who is super disciplined and never really uses technology beyond just the tools that it provides. Or I'll just clean up my desk a bit because this is how messy my actual desk is on a day-to-day basis. I can just talk to you from a blank corner of my house and just say that I don't own anything anymore. I do actually wonder how many of the minimalist tubers out there might be slightly exaggerating or faking the extent of their minimalism. But I do feel that even worse than faking is just not being true to yourself because of the internet. To some extent, it is important to listen to feedback, but there is a world there where you can get really pressured to just change your whole life to pander to the audience. Like, sure, I've been using this QWERTY phone for a while, but I might also just go back to this smartphone. And I might go back and forth between them. But hopefully that doesn't mean that I'm a hypocrite or a sellout just because this video or the phone that was featured on this video did really well. Then I'm sort of walking back. I think the internet expects that you don't really change your mind, or you can't learn, or you can't really like make experiments, which is not really how real life works. Number 3 is not having enough to talk about. I am amazed at how minimalist tubers can run a whole content calendar, post weekly for like a whole year. Like for me, I'm running out of things to talk about because I only really have like one annual aha moment where I want to try something and then I realize something and then I make a video about it. Like a few years ago, it was my flip phone. Around 1 to 2 years ago, it was the idea of barefoot shoes. This year, it's like decentralizing my phone. And those videos have done well. But I don't really have the bandwidth to experiment on myself that many times in a year. I don't know, like I feel like the reason that I sort of start and stop YouTube a lot is that I do feel this pressure of needing to follow up a successful video. And annoyingly, like a lot of my successful videos are in this minimalism niche where ironically, you're trying to be a minimalist, but also you're pressured to just keep pushing content out there. Maybe that's the reason why some of the OG minimalist guys like Matt Diavella don't really talk about minimalism that much anymore. It is a bit counterintuitive where you're stressing out so much about what to say, what to talk about, sticking to like an upload schedule when the whole idea of minimalism is really simplifying stuff in the first place. Like how much can you really talk about minimalism? Number 4, it hurts your digital minimalism goals. So the funny thing about being a creator around digital minimalism and actually gaining some traction is that you start monitoring your numbers a lot more. It's such a huge dopamine hit to have your YouTube Studio app on your phone and then you see like a big line up and to the right, or you see that your last video was a 1 out of 10, meaning that it's the best performing video out of your last 10 videos. Even though I deleted most of the addictive social media and I've been successful in reducing it, I've actually replaced it with a lot of unproductive time on YouTube Studio. And the funny thing is that there's nothing I'm gonna do differently if I knew my stats or not, especially at the rate that I was checking it. Like I was checking it every half hour, every hour. And that's not really a healthy thing for me. It does nothing but add to my ego as I'm rising and then stressing me out as the inevitable drop happens, because there will be a drop. And initially you just justify this as, oh, it's just part of my content creation, it's just part of my hobby. But then you eventually realize that this is just as bad as any other social media addiction because you're just blindly refreshing an app and not really doing anything with the information. So yeah, right now, this doesn't really add value to my life and it's actually harming my digital minimalism goals by being glued to YouTube Studio. So deleting this app for now. Anyway, this video was slightly chaotic, but it was meant to be a bit of a reflection as to why I found it difficult to be consistent on YouTube, even though I've sort of seen decent success with a few videos. I've always had a lot of stops and starts, and I'm starting to realize why that is. If you're a creator on YouTube talking about minimalism, whether you're using this as a creative outlet or if this is actually like a significant income source for you, I hope this resonated with you, and I'd love to hear your thoughts if you're experiencing some of these same things. Let me know down in the comments below. See ya.